Hi again, everyone. So now is the time for you to put everything together and take a crack at working the MAP treatment guide. This will be a short module from my perspective, but certainly you can take all the time you need to experiment with, play with the guide, see how you might be able to work it. So I know you have a copy, and I'm just going to show you an example of how to make it work. Okay. So I call this the breakout session of walking a mile in their shoes. So we're going to just take an example of one treatment milestone, some clinical issues in treatment planning. So what I've done is shown you the front sheet of the MAP treatment guide, which you have in front of you. So it's a large packet. It's set up the same for each of these phases. So what you'll see here, this is the first phase. This is on the couch. And the themes are listed in this table with the definition, the milestones, what it's dependent on, and how long they've been in the phase. But this is a young man. I just completed this with him last week, actually. And he's the person I referred to earlier on in our discussion that I've worked with for about 3 years. I work in a substance abuse treatment center, and that is integrated. So I manage the psychiatric component. And it's very interesting because he has insight. He can go out in public. He works a little bit, but he cannot break away from living at home. He's 38 years old, and he's terrified because his parents announced they were going to get a divorce. And he just absolutely doesn't know what he's going to do. So we looked at all the milestones, and what I've done is highlight in red what was really problematic for him. So he is stuck with a combination of fear and frustration. So his major current unmet milestone is the emotional. He doesn't have a problem with cognitive or interpersonal. He does fluctuate in his energy levels, however. So if he does some yard work and he does a little landscaping, he'll be wiped out for 2 days, and he's a young man. But he had a very, very, very serious, long-standing IV addiction. And like I said, he's through the addiction. He's worked his way through. He's actually even off Suboxone, but stuck. So you mark with an X on this what is the current unmet milestones. And then you go to the next page, and there is a little treatment guide. Okay? So for him, the main thing we wanted to work on was fear and frustration. So he came up with the outcome, and it's very significant to look at the words he chose. He said, the outcome of fear and frustration is that I won't be afraid to think about becoming independent. He didn't say becoming independent. He said think about becoming independent. So the strategies that we came up with, and he's got 4 weeks to do these, is to list the pros and cons of independence, then write down feelings of what it's like for him to be stuck, because he'll complain about it, but he still really won't get out of his head and get into the feeling state, because he's pretty afraid of his emotions, actually. And then he's to imagine living on his own like he used to when he was a drug dealer. And he was living high on the hog in his own apartment. So that's his task. I won't see him now for another couple weeks, and we'll see how he does. So that's the end of the slides that I have for this particular very brief module. But as you move through the treatment guide, you'll see that there's a chart for every single component. Okay? The emotional, the interpersonal, the physical, the cognitive. And you sit down and you go through the cover sheet that lists each milestone for that phase and simply identify what's met, what's unmet, get a sense of what phase they're in, and then ask the consumer, what one do you want to work on? Because this is their treatment guide, not our treatment guide. So I hope this is helpful. I'm certainly open to any questions and comments that you may make. I hope that you'll use this tool, even if you don't complete the whole thing, that will give you a discussion point to sit and talk with your clients about, and then go to the program managers and say, hey, we really need to address the psychological recovery so that my client can get on a real road to total recovery. So I thank you all for listening, and I look forward to hearing from you, and I do hope that some of you use this tool or pieces of this tool, and that you'll find some new ways of interacting with your consumers, with your clients. So thank you. I look forward to hearing from you. Take care. Bye-bye.